Alright, so let's take a minute to go through the contents of my pack, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to take on this hike with me. Again, I've already pointed out my CamelBak 3-liter water hydration system. That's on this side. Also down in this pocket, and this will probably go in my pants pocket, is my Colorado 300 GPS by Garmin. And I have the micro SD card in it for the Northeast, so I have all the USGS topo maps for New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, and I think maybe even Rhode Island in here. So I'll be able to plot my exact position at any given time along my hike. It's kind of a handy little item to have because it has a trip odometer on here. I can get a kind of idea of the mileage I've traveled. I'll show you a little bit more about this when I go through my land navigation stuff and my maps. So I'll put that away. But it's a handy, nice little item to have to kind of keep an idea about where you are, how far you've gone, how far you have left to go to certain different points of interest, things like that. On this side of my pack, turn this to the side, I have just a little clip-on carabiner here. These are kind of nice. It's a little item to have for different reasons. In this side mesh pouch, I carry my water filtration system. This is an MSR ceramic microfilter. I'm going to show you this really quickly. And you know, there's a couple hoses in here to get water out of brooks, streams, ponds, what have you. A handy item to have. I'll do a separate video on water purification, water treatment, water filtration, etc., and the reasons why. But briefly on that, one of the biggest concerns that I have with drinking, or that you should or we should have with drinking water from, or getting water from water sources in the bush, are things like protozoa, viruses, and bacteria in the water can make you pretty sick. Waterborne pathogens such as Cryptosporidia giardia, waterborne viruses like poliomyelitis, the adenovirus, hepatitis. There's a couple different others. I can't remember them all offhand. A little bit of tissue paper here for, you know, when nature calls. Nice and waterproof in case it rains. Okay, so now this pack briefly breaks into two different components. I have the main pack. The main pack contains several different lashing points. I have a smaller outside pack or zippered compartment for smaller gear, the two-side mesh pockets, of course, and then this top part of my pack, which comes off, and I can turn it into a fanny pack. I'll show you this really quick. Snaps off real quick like, and back here it's got a belt that folds out, so I can take and turn this into a fanny pack. And one of the main reasons that I would do this is, for example, when I get to the ridge line, when I get to the trail junction of the Appalachian Trail and the Spur Trail for Sugarloaf, it's about 6/10 of a mile from that trail junction to the summit. And at that point, I've already showed you with my water bladder, I can take that off and wear that on my pack. And this, I can take a little bit of food or maybe some rain gear with me or something like that. Throw on my CamelBak, easy enough. Just lash to the side here, and then I can go ahead and hike that mile round trip to the summit and back to the trail junction with the Appalachian Trail without having to take the entire 43-pound pack with me. Just take some essentials. And I want to show you how quickly I can get this off here and turn and do just that. So again, all I have to do now is I can throw this on And that, my fanny pack, I can take off and I can do that little jog up to the summit of Sugarloaf or any other side paths or anything, other points of interest that may just be off the trail and I don't want to have to carry that entire 43 pounds with me. Now currently, I'm using this top portion of my pack to store basically my food items and some basic items. So we'll open that up and I'll show you some of the gear that I have in here. Okay, let's get this open. Right now, basically, I'm keeping in here just quick to grab things, miscellaneous stuff. There's no real rhyme or reason to why this stuff is here. It's just a good little place to hold things. This is my Jetboil backpacker stove, and I'll go ahead and show you that really quick. Take these straps off of here. Again, this stove here, this isn't something that I would carry on more of a self-reliant trip or a trip into the wilderness where I wanted to spend any time. This allows me to quickly, very quickly boil up water, and my entire food base is dehydrated, so it's important that I be able to boil water. Boil water, it gives me an option to boil water for purifying or cleaning my water should my water filter break. But the one drawback of this is it does use an external fuel source, and these are very limited. Because of that, I actually carry two fuel sources, or 2 canisters of fuel, which is probably more than enough, but better be safe than sorry mentality. So the cover comes off of here, and we can see the burner portion of my stove, and another can of fuel. The bottom comes off, makes a little drinking cup. It's got some measuring lines in here for, oops, dropped it. It's got some measuring lines in here for, 4 ounces, 8 ounces, and then 1 cup, whatever. Basically, we take one of these fuel canisters, and I want to point this out really quick about fuel canisters while I have the opportunity. Not all these fuel canisters are created equally. There are a couple different types of fuel mixtures that are used in these. This one is a 4-season mix, and I want to stress this for anybody who would take a stove like this out into the wilderness during the winter. Make certain that you have the 4-season mix. That uses an isobutane and propane, whereas the regular mix uses, I believe it's propane and geez, I'm at a loss anyway. But anyway, they don't work at all in the winter. They freeze up solid, and so it's very important that you have this fuel mix for any type of winter activity. But anyway, then we take our burner, just screw that into the top, and I have a high on, off, high and low switch, and basically it's just a matter of cigarette lighter. You can't see that flame because the type of fuel mix I have, but very hot. Then the cup itself snaps right down onto the top of the stove, like so. Give it a half twist, it locks into place. And I actually have a little base for this to help it stand up a little easier, but I have it put in a separate spot. So I'm going to grab that really quick since we're on the subject of the stove anyway. If I can remember what I did with it. Okay, here we go. So then this little stand here, legs fold out, and then the fuel canister. It's designed to accept the larger canisters or these smaller canisters, and that snaps on. Gives me a little stability so it doesn't get knocked over quite so easy. And there you have it. That's my backpacker stove. It's called Jetboil for a reason. I will tell you, it really boils water very fast, and one of the reasons for this is it has these radiated fins, if you will, in the bottom that allows, when the air comes in, it helps superheat the bottom of this thing. So as long as you don't fill it up too high, you can boil a cup of water in really a very, very short time. All right, so let's put that back. this one fuel canister has been used slightly. So I will want to be using that one before I open the new one. And this actually sets down in here as well. The lid goes back on. Alright, I'll take care of that later. Alright, what else do I have in here? This is basically my tinder kit. This is some prepared tinder that I take along with me. Different types of tinder plus some aftermarket accelerant, like Surefire. There's a whole bunch of them on the market. It's just basically to help you, keep a flame a little longer. And as you can see, I carry a spare cigarette lighter in here. I have in this little pouch a small magnifying glass, and on a day like today it wouldn't take very much to get a fire going with this small magnifying glass. And really the benefit to that is that I don't have to use any fuel at all. I carry a bit of steel wool in here. Steel wool combined with a couple batteries goes up really quite quickly. And whoops, this is a little bit too big to fit my tinder kit, so I keep it in the pack over here. Is my ferro rod. Throws a lot of sparks. I can also use a ferro rod to ignite the steel wool, and that gives me a good option and a good hot way to get a fire going. And then all of these little pinkish things down in here are these aftermarket accelerants I was telling you about, called Surefire. And they're just like a thick cotton felt that's been soaked in some type of, I'm not really sure what chemical, and they ignite pretty easy and they burn a long time, so you have a really sustained flame to help you dry out your kindling. And then I have some dried bark, inner bark from a tree, and makes an excellent tinder. And I can use that combined with my magnifying glass or a spark producing stone or my ferro rod or even my cigarette lighter to get a fire going. So I always have some kind of tinder with me. Fire is probably one of the single most important elements of survival, and that's why I carry so many different varieties of fire producing ignition sources, like the magnifying glass, the cigarette lighter, the ferro rod, because I believe you should be redundant in your ability to produce fire, just solely because of its importance. So I'll have that in case of an emergency. I have a little bit of vanilla pipe tobacco here for my pipe, so it's just more of a luxury item than anything. I have about 30 feet of military or paracord 550 cord. Cordage is another element of survival that cannot be overstressed. There's so many different things I can do with cordage, from making a litter if I have to carry somebody out, or the woods splinting a leg or an arm or a fracture, whatever, what have you, lashing gear to my pack, repairing items of my pack or of my clothing. I can use these inner strands, as to mend clothing or whatever, make snares, or use this alone. And then just some snack items I have in here. Basically, I have these damn good beef jerkies that were on sale, 2 for $3. So I've got 2 of these for each day, original and hickory, Hawaiian teriyaki. And this would be more like a midday snack type item. Stopping and having a quick snack along the trail type of thing. And I'm going to combine with this probably some high energy granola bars, power bars, maybe a couple bags of honey roasted peanuts, things like that. And then I've got the small roll of electrical tape in here, and the reason I carry this small roll of electrical tape is because I can use it to bind all kinds of things, and it's actually part of my first aid kit too. Which brings up another thought. A lot of people, and me for many years, carried a first aid kit full of bandages and all this stuff, but when you really think about it, the commercial bandages on the market, they don't stay on. They always fall off. You always end up wrapping tape around them just to make them stay on anyway. So this combined with a bit of cotton, I can, and I can also use the cotton to make char cloth. I can make bandages with it, that sort of things. That's basically what it's for, just binding and mending gear, things like that. And then in this pouch, I carry my Petzl headlamp. And you know, this is a really nice handy item. I highly recommend making a headlamp part of your kit. Hands-free operation, you know. How many times have you caught yourself holding your flashlight in your teeth while you try to perform a task with both of your hands? I mean, this completely eliminates the need to do that. It's very, very bright. The fold-down lens here actually scatters the light to give you a wider area, and then, you know, folding it down like that, you get a more concentrated beam. And there are 3 different power levels on this, plus a flash beacon. And you know, I can also, it's got a little button to check the power level. So it's actually pretty bright. Okay, so that's what I've got in that pack. I'll put all this back really quick into its original state. Okay, so next, the stuff that I got in this outside zipper pouch is basically stuff I want, you know, quick access to without having to dig or, you know, dig into my main pack and pull stuff out. But one handy feature about it is, and let me show you that really quick, this entire zip-off pouch has a zipper behind it, and I can take that and open it up, and it allows me a means or a way into the internal portion of my pack to remove or pack things without having to take the top of the pack off that I just had shown you. So that's a handy little feature. Alright, so in this pouch, we see I've just got some items that they just fit well into the pouch, or they're items that I want quick, easy access to. Up here I have, some Earl Grey tea. This would be nice for, you know, later on in the evening around camp with dinner. You know, may want a nice hot cup of tea. And then in the other tea bags, I actually have some green tea with raspberry. And, you know, plain water gets kind of boring. So a lot of times I'll take those tea bags like that and throw a couple in here with my Camelback to add a little flavor to my water, break it up a little bit. I also have a long handled spoon, which allows me easy reach down into my food pouches without having to get my hands all messy. And then I'm carrying some Folgers coffee singles. So I have quite a bit of them in here. I like to have a couple cups of coffee in the morning before I get started. These are really handy things to carry, lightweight, way to keep coffee. You know, Folgers instant coffee, I use that quite a bit too. Okay, and this pouch is basically my backup flashlight. This is just an LED light. Again, having a nice source of light is, you know, kind of nice. So redundancy, if my other light goes bad, something breaks, I have a backup light, and that's basically all that's for. Really cheap, only a couple bucks for this. I think I got it at the counter at a convenience store. This is a cell phone battery charger. So I have a full battery charge right here. I just plug this into my cell phone there and turn it on, and I can charge my cell phone. Thin, lightweight. I think I only paid like 40 some bucks for it. In here I have a spare battery for my GoPro camera, and next week before I actually take off for the trip, I'm gonna go pick up another one. They're only 16 bucks and lightweight, don't take up any room, so I'll have that in case I take a lot of pictures. This is the clear back for my GoPro camera. This is the waterproof back. The problem with it, because it's waterproof, it doesn't have any openings, so it muffles the microphone and makes it a little harder to hear. But, you know, just thought I'd throw it in there. And then I already showed you the ferro rod, or ferrocerium rod. Again, I would highly recommend anyone who spends any time in the wilderness or seeks remote places of the wilderness to make this part of your kit. It's very easy to use. It works when it's wet. You know, I would recommend this over a cigarette lighter any day of the week. And when, you know, when it comes to fire starting too, matches, you know, just throw the matches in the trash. Don't even carry them. To me, you know, they're useless. Waterproof matches, whatever. I mean, chuck them. They have a one-time use. The wind can blow them out, and when they're gone, they're gone. You know, a cigarette lighter and one of these, you pretty much got everything you'd ever need. All right, so that's that. Oops. Okay, and in here is where I keep my char cloth. This is just an Altoids tin, and it's all burned away because I use it to create my char cloth, and I'll have to show you a video on how to do that someday. But char cloth is nothing more than cotton cloth, 100% cotton, that has been put in the fire in this tin. And basically what happens is through pyrosity, I believe I pronounced that correctly, all the flammable gases are released from the cotton, but because it's an oxygen-free environment, the cotton itself cannot catch on fire. So the gases leak around the edges of the lid where they are consumed by flame, leaving the charred cotton cloth behind. And it's just one of the most, it's a really excellent way to catch a spark and an excellent way to get a fire going. When combined with using a primitive spark producing source like a spark producing stone and a knife, it's almost a must, because the spark from a spark producing stone is so weak. Okay, and then in this clear pouch I carry my Nikon Coolpix camera, which will probably end up in my pocket most often than not. And I also carry in this Ziploc bag, oh, I guess, anyway, the Ziploc bag, this is a manual for my camera in case I forget. You know, there's a lot of information, different settings and stuff. And then I've got the manual for my two-way radio in here, because again, there's just so many different settings and stuff on this that, yeah, a person can't remember them all. Keep it in there nice and waterproof. Oh, I also got this kind of cool little card that shows different animal prints and whatever. And last but not least, I carry maps, and this is a map scale protractor. It reads several different scales, 1 in 100,000, 1 in 50,000, 1 in 24,000, and 1 in 25,000 scale. The bigger the scale, the more detail the map will show, the more precise you will be when picking your points. So 1 in 100,000 obviously will have but also you would have to have a bigger map too, and you'd have less area covered on your map, so you'd have to carry an additional amount. The most common map you'll find is in scale is 1 in 24,000. That's what these are, and these have all of my, you know, easting and northern values on them. And combined with the protractor, I can plot my exact location on this map. So it's a really handy item to have. And I can't stress enough, again, too, if you're going into the wilderness or the remote wilderness, having a very firm understanding of where you're going, having a really good map with you. These maps, topographical shaded relief maps, I don't know if I said that, are actually derived from U.S. Geological Survey maps. There are things on these maps that will change over the course of time, like routes of logging roads and such, but they are very, very accurate maps. And we'll get more into that when I show you them in more detail later. Okay, we're going to do a part 2 and do the